Your alternative talk radio contact. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
With infinite complacence, people went to and fro of the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
Hello, everybody. If you are a new listener to Into the Fray, welcome. You can listen to the weekly episodes for free in most all podcatchers and subscribe on YouTube. ITF can also be found on kgrradio.com, TalkStream Live, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you enjoy Into the Fray, consider helping to support it. Become an insider and get extra content each and every month. Go to intothefrayradio.com and click Become an Insider. There are two options to choose from, monthly for only $4.99 or the yearly for $54. In case you hadn't heard, Ryan Sprague has a new TV show out on the CW. Roswell Mysteries Decoded can be streamed right now by going to cwseed.com. If you have an encounter story you'd like to leave on the hotline, call anytime, day or night, toll free. 877-317-9111. And stick around after my interview with Nick to hear a couple interesting calls I recently received. Now, I haven't asked this in a long while, so if you can spare a moment, please go rate and review ITF in your listening platform of choice. This helps new listeners find the show, which means more encounter stories for you to enjoy. And now, my chat with Nick White of Cage the Darkness. So on this edition of Into the Fray, I have on with me Nick White. He has 20 plus years investigating the paranormal. He is ex-Army. He is also a drone pilot, a photographer, and a videographer, and you may know him most recently from the A&E show Cursed, the Bell Witch. You can, of course, watch that on Amazon right now. That is where I told you, I caught the first couple episodes of that show, Nick, and it was just prior to you coming on. I still need to watch the rest of that. But besides Amazon, where can folks watch Cursed, which is, of course, all about the Bell Witch?
Well, right now, I believe Amazon, and they've got a few clips on the A&E website, aetv.com, and then on my YouTube channel, I actually took a few of the clips where I was on the show. Since kind of like you, there was a lot of my friends watching when it's time to come on. They were like, "Well, man, I don't see you yet."
Right.
But it's actually at the very end of the second episode, first or the third, is when they start bringing me in to do all the paranormal investigating. And so I went through and pulled out a few clips of it, and it's on my YouTube channel. You can search me up on YouTube, Nick T. White. I'm the only Nick T. White on there, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I did cheat a little bit, and I went to your YouTube channel to find that introduction that they did for you on the show Cursed. No, go right ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, Mr. John Zaffis was the one that told him to look for a paranormal investigator local, and that was me.
Gotta love John Zaffis. That's a cool dude.
Oh,
I hope to meet him one day.
He is just an amazing person, not just an investigator, but a person as well. I mean, he's an amazing, he's got so much knowledge pouring out of him. I mean, if you just even sit beside him, you probably osmosize some knowledge off of him.
No kidding. You're like, can I just hold on to your forearm for a second and by osmosis maybe learn some of that knowledge that you have?
Exactly.
So before we dive into this, you've already mentioned the YouTube channel, which, of course, if everybody wants to type in, like you said, type in Nick T. White. It's easy to find. Like you said, you're the only one on there with that name. Twitter is at Cage the Darkness. And anywhere else that you want to give people to locate you?
Oh yeah, I've got tons, honey. I've got tons. I got let's see, I've got Instagram, of course, which is at Nick T. White Photo. I've got Snapchat, where I've started getting back on there doing stories, just kind of saying hi and stuff each day, giving people updates, and that's Nick Cage 03. And then of course the Twitter at Cage Darkness, Facebook. You can do Facebook Facebook.com/Nick White 03. And then there's links on there that actually I've got a public figure page, as well as a Cage of Darkness Paranormal Investigations Facebook page, where you guys can check out some stuff going on with my team. And then I have a couple websites, cagethedarkness.com, which has a lot of the stuff from the show on the A&E show. Then I have some stuff where I started doing vlogs and investigations and things, teaching people how to investigate and stuff like that on my YouTube channel. So I've got a few videos of that on there as well. And I have my photography and videography website, which is ntwphotography.com.
Perfect. Thank you. So, and forgive me, and everybody knows that I like to ask this question straight out of the gate, but it's very pertinent because we all have had some kind of an inception into all of this. So why the paranormal for you, Nick?
Well, now it's kind of spread out through a little bit, from paranormal UFO stuff to cryptids and things. But in the beginning, it was just strictly paranormal. And really what got me into it was, for many years, I've always had different kinds of abilities or gifts that the Lord has given me, or that I've just got somehow. I don't know why. But when I was very, very little, the one thing that I believe that always stands out, this is the question that I do get frequently, that stands out to me, that really got me into the paranormal was, I was around 12 or 13 years old, and at the time we were living on this old land where there was a cornfield in the back that had been there for years. The house itself was like an old log cabin style home that has been there for probably 100 years or more. I always like to lay near TVs or fans. I always got to have some kind of noise going. I feel like Daredevil when he was laying down in the water just to go to sleep.
Yes.
So I was laying in the living room, and I was kind of facing towards the hallway, which the back door was. And there's a small little hallway, and then it opens up into where I was at, where the living room was. There was a real fireplace where we actually used wood and stuff and then not just a wall fireplace, like one of those outside heater fireplaces, ones that when you open the door, smoke goes all over the house, that kind. But it did warm up everything. But so I was laying in the living room, and of course I got the TV on at first. It was easily after 12 midnight. I mean, hands down. So everybody was asleep. It was me, my mom, and dad, and they're in their bedroom, and I'm in there in the living room, laying on the couch. And I start hearing kind of this small, like a scratching, a little bitty small scratching sound, and it was near the back door. So I kind of, I was kind of in and out a little bit at the time, but of course that woke me up because it was enough to it was a loud scratch. It wasn't a real soft little quiet scratch. It was loud enough for me to notice it. And I kind of sat up just a tad bit, leaned my head up and looked a little towards that way, and I heard it again. And it was going in about 2 to 3 second intervals. And then the second one wasn't just a scratch. It was kind of like a scratch thump kind of thing. And so I hear it again. Next thing I know, this is some people laugh at me, by the way, I describe this sometimes, but one of the things that reminded me was it's a evolved form of a Pokemon called Persian, that has this, it's got like a thing on its forehead. It's kind of a gold thing, and then it's a little ruby red thing, kind of something like that. Well, have you ever seen like these horror movies or these ghost movies or whatever, and you see these ghosts and they're all jagged and they jump, and it's like, they're all, it's that kind of jerky like kind of stuff. Well, a paw came around the corner, and this paw, now the easiest way to describe this was it was a black smoke with no definition, and it was a panther style looking black smoke. I mean, it looked like a black smoke panther is what I call it. It looked straight out black smoke panther. This thing had red eyes, like steaming smoky eyes. It's, you could tell it was coming out, all this stuff. No definition, but it was enough for me to know what it looked like. It stuck its head around the corners. What the way that I just described that, that ruby kind of stuff. It wasn't exactly like that Persian thing on the Pokemon. It had an upside down gold boomerang style kind of thing on its forehead that was that had like a rubyish something. Like I say, how it wasn't detailed, so I can't exactly say what that stuff was on there. So it had kind of like a rubyish looking kind of thing right in the middle of that. Which some friends of mine, I've got a lot of friends that's in archaeology or ancient mythology, people, Aztec stuff like, and they were talking that it could be, it reminded some of them as Aztec, kind of Mayan, so kind of looking kind of symbol like kind of stuff. But there's more to that. And next thing, it kind of stepped around. Now its whole body all the way up until its back, kind of back paws, tail, or whatever, was already around the corner now, and it's still going in 2 to 3 second intervals, walking slowly towards me every 2 or 3 seconds. Well, it gets to about let's say about 8 foot away from me, and it completely stops. Nowadays, of course, even back then, if I get around really negative stuff, negative people, negative entities, malevolent, demonic, like any kind of really negative energy in particular, my stomach starts really turning, and sometimes I'll throw up. And it's noticeable enough for me to know that's out of the ordinary. Well, I never felt that when this was going on. And the funny thing is once that thing got so close to me, when it was stopped and staring at me in the eyes, I was hollering. I was trying to scream out, like you see these movies, or maybe even you when you was younger or something, when you're screaming out, trying to holler for your mom or your dad, you're like, Mom, and there's nothing is coming out.
Right.
That's how it was at first. And well, once it got to where it was right there in front of me, I stopped screaming. I didn't feel like it was trying to hurt me. I didn't feel like it was wanting to attack me. I just never felt threatened at all once it got close enough. Of course, it scared the shit out of me before it got up close, but it stopped, and we're looking at each other, staring at each other in each other's eyes. And that to me, it felt like forever, but technically it was probably maybe 10 seconds that it stood there once it got so close. But then once it got so close, after that 10 seconds, after we stared for a couple, for that amount of time, it kind of poofed towards me. And it wasn't like it leaped to try to jump on me like a lion would, a gazelle or something like that, or nothing. It just kind of poofed like the smoke, the poof, and it just poofed towards my face. It went over my whole shoulders area and all that stuff, and completely disappeared. Now to this day, so now I'll be 40 this year, but to this day, I have yet to see that again, or to even figure out what it is. I've had a lot of my, like I was mentioning, I had a lot of my friends, that especially now that I've been out in the public with a little bit of the stuff that I do, that are these, that are mythologists or even people that like cryptozoologists and stuff like that has tried to talk with me and discuss and figure out what that could be. And well, my heritage is Scottish, Irish, Cherokee, Apache. So some of my friends, especially a friend of mine that's a shaman, said, well, maybe that could have been your animal guide or your totem, just waking you up to the aspect of the things that you'll need to do when you're older, or something that you need to get you easier ways that get you butt in gear and get to it kind
right.
of thing, and then even then I have some friends, the more archaeologists and the mythologists say, well, that sounds kind of like a Mayan symbol or an Aztec symbol, something that had been like that. So then of course I get my cryptozoologists and we're like, well, that sounds or my ufologist friends are, well, it sounds kind of a little bit extraterrestrial, because it looks like some of that stuff that's in these different buildings and stuff that's across the world, that's these different symbols that tend to appear across the earth, and there's just so many different theories now. But
of course, the big question is, what the hell was it doing in your living room?
That's it. See, and where we were at, the house itself was an old house. And there could have been things going on in that property, that I was just picking up that I didn't know about because, like I say, that was before, that was just the Ghostbuster years, that wasn't really, when it got into more of the ghost hunters and the ghost event, more of the, getting into stuff and, none of that kind of stuff was big then. So I never did think about it, but from that day on, I got to be involved with a lot more than just that experience. There was many, many more experiences that I got, but just never that same thing. I just never, it blew my mind. I never found out what it was yet.
Isn't that so odd? A lot of us have that, where we see something so strange and it changes your life and you never see it again though. You might have other things happen, but nothing quite like that. Or even
Yeah.
I mean, for me, not even close. I've never seen the shadow people again. Now, that was in Tennessee, correct?
Yes, it was. It was
'Cause
in
you're-
Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where
yeah.
I grew up outside of Nashville.
And you're still in Tennessee.
Yeah, right beside of Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg, Tennessee now.
Gatlinburg, isn't there a lot of haunted plots of land out in that area?
Oh man, the whole Smoky Mountains and Appalachian area is actually pretty amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more than just haunted. There's UFO sightings. There's apparently some big smelly monster that's like Bigfoot related that's supposed to be up here in the Smoky Mountains somewhere. And then one big place that's really haunted. There's a place called Elkmont Ghost Town, and it's an area right past Gatlinburg, right into the Smoky Mountains, where I've got a couple videos that I've done on my YouTube channel about it. That it's pretty wild, man. There's a lot of stuff going on up here in Tennessee.
I've been to the Great Smoky Mountains, and I gotta say, if I was a Bigfoot, it'd be either Washington State or Oregon, Pacific Northwest, or GSM, because that place is gorgeous, and there's all sorts of places to hide, plenty of food, plenty of water.
And
Decent,
it goes
decent
on. And
temps.
and it goes all the way up towards West Virginia in that area. And,
yeah.
they talk about now. I've got a couple friends that are Bigfoot hunters in West Virginia that's talked about some stuff down that came down this way, and it's just that is something that I would like to get further into, is actually checking out the Bigfoot stuff up here. It'd be pretty amazing.
So, what was it like to be the lead investigator for the show Cursed, the Bell Witch?
Oh man, it was an honor and as a blessing. Getting to be able to be, of course that's not my I always have to say this to a lot of people, because the way it is now is, that's not my main focus to be on TV, but it was really an honor that I was asked, because I do have a lot of experience, and I'm not just your quote unquote TV investigator. I've investigated many different kind of subjects, and I've been on easily more than 500 easily investigations, even just on my own. And it's something that I was glad to really be able to be involved with, because, I wanted to give them, an actual investigator standpoint, or a view of the things that are going on in that area, where we went from John Bell's grave site itself to that wooded area where the grave site is, and then we went to the Bell farm, to where all that kind of stuff was going on. Then especially the Bell Witch Cave, and the cave itself was, it blew my mind. It was literally one of the most amazing places that I've ever been to that had paranormal things going on.
See, now I admitted to you that I had only gotten a couple of episodes in. I was actually watching it with Seth Breedlove before we had to head to the airport so I could come back to Vegas. So you guys, and Seth and I had talked about this, you guys actually got to go into the cave, because not a lot of people get to do that. Oh, we missed it.
Yeah. Well, see, that starts. Let's see. I think at the end of the second and the third, that area, I believe, is when we first go to the grave site itself. And one of the really cool things was found out that the stone that's there, like John Bell's grave stone, was actually stolen, and the one that's there was a replacement. So that was kind of cool to find out. But yeah, then we go to the cave itself. I believe that's in the fourth. We start in the fourth a little bit. We go talk a little bit about it. We interview Chris, and I can't remember the guy's name that owned it, but they were the one that ran it. And then the fifth episode was more on the cave. We actually got to go through the cave and really help John and his family a little bit, because John, he really did have a lot of stuff going on with him, and then his son was really cool. But he was a young fella, and one of the theories, or one of the lores of the Bell Witch stuff, was that she was going to be coming back every so often, to attack the generation, and he was the next one in line to get that hit, and they did, and they had a lot of stuff going on, and I was afraid for him when I first got there. It really, and then that's one of the main things with me. If I get somebody calls me about a kid, that goes right up in the very top of that list, because I love kids, and kids alone, they don't know any better. Even if they know a little bit about what's going on, their body and their mind and their soul are so innocent and so open to anything, that if you get them in that kind of situation, there's no telling what could happen. And it really put him in danger.
can you just give a quick synopsis? We don't have to go real detailed, but for anybody that's kind of listening going, well, hang on, what is this Bell Witch thing? Can you give everybody a snapshot of what that was all about?
I sure can. I'll tell you, first, I always have to say this. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a Bell Witch. It's actually Native American related, because one of the things, I mean, I'm sure if people follow Ghost Adventures, the guys, Zach and the guys went there as well, and this is one of the things they found out too, is that one of the things that Drury Bell did, Drury's, one of the boys of John's boys, him and his friend went to let me paint a bigger picture first. The Bell Witch Cave itself is under a burial mound. The burial mound is from the Mounds people, and the Mounds people were the Native Americans before they split up into the different tribes, as in the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, whatever, however many. That was before all that they split up. So there's this huge burial mound, Native American burial ground on top of this cave up there. So now we get back to the boys. Now the boys go up and they steal this skull out of the graveyard, and that's, come on, you can't be doing stuff like that.
That's a big
so they take this, I know, right? And so they take the skull and they take that back to the house and apparently drop some teeth out of the skull and never did find them.
Oh,
so they may or may not have took the skull back. I don't think nobody ever said anything about that, or that's not documented, but they actually dropped the teeth. That is documented. So after this, then that's when all this kind of stuff started kicking up even further and further and further. Well, they talk about the Bell Witch. I mean, if you or your listeners have seen the movie An American Haunting, it's got Kiefer Sutherland, Sissy Spacek, all that, a few other people in it. Where one of the theories is that Betsy Bell was the Bell Witch, the quote unquote Bell Witch. Well, Betsy back in those ages was kind of an herbalist, or a medicinal herbalist, kind of like, somebody that would just, say you've got a bad stomach ache, and people will give you ginger, to settle your stomach, or, stuff like that. And she was like that. So of course, back then, yeah, exactly. That's the first thing. Oh, she's a witch. She can do that. She's doing this and doing potions and da da da. Okay, well, that's it. Well, then of course John and Betsy Bell had a lot of problems back and forth. One of the theories was they was lovers at one point. Then another is where there's supposed to be some type of land deal that had went wrong or something like that. And one of the things that she did, Betsy Bell herself did say out loud where people heard her was, "I curse you, John Bell, and I'm going to visit your family from now on." I think it's every 7 years is what she had said, or something like that. And people heard her. So, of course, there you go again. There is adding more on top of that, thinking that Betsy Bell herself was the Bell Witch.
Nick, sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
Is your mouthpiece of your earbuds like rubbing on your clothes or something? There's just
Absolutely.
like a little scratch, and I'm so sorry.
No, that's my cat in the litter box.
No, I don't think it. I think it's got to be your mouthpiece, because there's no way that, because I've heard it most of the time.
It's funny you said that, though. She just left in and went over there to the litter box and was just scratching it up right then. But I'll hold it could be my mouthpiece too.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. It just sounded like your mouth. I was like, well, if it is the cat, that's good. It won't last too long. Taking care of business.
She's done over there now. Oh yeah, that's my little girl. I love her to death. I'm a little afraid for her though. I had her and her mom. Actually, I had her pass away last year of breast cancer, and that was a heartbreaking moment, I tell you. And then now this one, I may have to do a fundraiser for her, because I don't know if I can come up with that kind of money yet. But she's got a big mass that's growing on one of her little areas as well. And these are my little kids, man. And it hurts my feelings, not being able to help them. They just charge so much to get them help. But anyway, back to the story. But
you know what, the whole vet thing, when you take them in and you're heartbroken because you realize you can't afford to give them a shot at something.
Last year, to get like the tumor taken out she had, it was like $1,600, and I was like, I don't have that right now. And just God willing, thank to God that this lady, I had to do a fundraiser for her, because it's just a lot of money to come up, and if you let that wait in cats, it'll kill them too quick. So I did a fundraiser for her, and lo and behold, here comes this wonderful angel lady come out of nowhere and says, "Do you have a PayPal?" And I said, well, yes, ma'am. And she says, Tell me what it is. I'm sending you $1,500 right now.
Aww.
Oh, and you told, honey, I cried my eye. I mean, I'm not, I give off this tough exterior stuff, but let me tell you, that was the nicest thing that anybody has ever done for me or my family ever. I mean, I bawled my eyes out. I did a live video on Facebook, to tell everybody how I was grateful for that, because, if the Lord blesses me with money, lots of money one day or something, I got a lot of stuff that could come to fruition here soon with TV stuff. I may be back doing TV stuff. If it comes to the point to where the Lord blesses me with all this money, if I see people like that in need, I guarantee I'll be the first one to say, here you go, take care of that. Because I mean, even if I could be out, as long as I've got somewhere to sleep, somewhere to eat, I don't need money. I'd go out and help everybody in the world if I could. I'd give anybody anything that I've got right now if they needed it more than I do. And that's it was just really amazing to see the kindness that lady did for her. And it was a blessing. But yeah, I guess I may have to do that for this little one as well. And her little name's Scrimpy. She was the runt of the litter. She's just a teeny little
Scrimpy, cute.
Yeah. she's my girl, and yeah, hopefully I may have to do that. I've got to donate stuff on my Cage of Darkness Paranormal site on Facebook, but all that money always goes to like people that need it, or if they need stuff for electric, or if they need food for kids or clothing, or any of that. We don't keep that money. That I had some people say, well, you got a donate button on your Facebook, on your Cage of Darkness Paranormal Investigations Facebook site, and I said yeah, and they said, oh, what do you do with that? You go buy stuff with? No, absolutely not. Every single bit of that money that ever comes donates to us goes out to somebody that needs it at all times. And I just try to lead by example to tell people that they, help people, even one day when you need that help, those people come out of the woodworks, and it'll blow your mind. Cause I don't ever do it for reasons of getting something in return. I always do it because that's what I think that Black Smoke Panther got me into the paranormal field to do a lot of things, because I'm an ordained minister as well. And, I've helped a lot of people through a lot of stuff, not just paranormal, because sometimes people, when they call me, they may have things going on at their house or their property or business or wherever. Sometimes it's just people that just want somebody to listen. Yeah. Or talk to them, or to understand, and that's just the way I've always lived, and I'm gonna keep doing it and try to do my best.
Well, I think that woman coming forward with the 1,500 was karma, kind of a pay it forward because of you guys and what you do on your website. So I think it all kind of just is a big circle of just giving back, and that's wonderful.
I love it. But yeah, I'll that's some of that little sad stuff for my cats. But let's see. We was talking about the cave and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, okay. So here's a question specifically for you because of what you mentioned earlier. So at any point during the filming, especially if you're a place like the cave where you say it's under this burial mound and the kids found the skull and they lost the teeth and there's other things that who knows what else has gone in there. Did you in fact feel sick at all then during the filming because of any negativity?
Oh, let me tell you, honey. I'm gonna tell you what. This is one of the reasons that I say that you need to protect yourself at all times, no matter if you're religious or you believe in whatever you can do to protect yourself. Do it, because I had a spirit attached to me from that cave. And this is the thing about that is I was so excited to be on TV that I didn't do what I always do. I always say prayers and carry some stuff with me, for protect crystals and things like that, for protection. And lo and behold, before I go into this blame cave, I didn't do that, which I should have done that. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on, and I did get a little sick, and it actually hit John as well. When we got out, I did almost throw up completely, and John did too. Actually, when we got further into the cave, like there's three. One, two, three. Yeah, there's three big sections in that cave. When you first get through the first little hallway, you get to the first opening, and it's kind of it's a fairly big opening, and that's where you look to the left a little bit, and there's a little grave where a body had actually been stolen out of this grave, and it was like one of those old timey rock kind of outlined graves. It's dug into the ground a tad bit, and then it had a top to it, but it was gone, and then the body was gone. Well, this was one of the things that I actually got to experience while I was there. there was a young girl that was following me. They kind of made it look like it was following John, but that's TV. He was the star of the show, so there you
Right.
go. But when I was at this hotel before I even went to this cave, I seen this little girl, and she was probably, she looked like she was around 12, maybe something like that, give or take. She had brown, dark brown hair down about shoulder length. She had that white, old colonial style looking like poofy shirt with the poofy wrist stuff and the neck and all that goodies. And then she had like these brown kind of pants, and then it kind of cut out like if she was wearing capris, that's what it would be, because I actually didn't see feet or nothing at the time. She just peeped around the corner, and I just thought it just a little girl saying hi, and I love kids, so I'm like, hey honey, how you doing? And she kind of backed away, backed around the corner, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, I just it was just a few steps or so for me to look, so I just thought, well, let me look and see. And then when I walked and looked around, nobody. And the hallway was a long hallway around the other corner, so there's no way. I didn't hear any doors shut. I didn't hear anything like that whatsoever. I was like, oh no, here we go. Because it seems like every time I go on some type of investigation, or somebody calls me or something happens to me, or something contacts me, or something lets me know or gets me ready, like that kind of stuff, So she knew I was coming there somehow. I don't know. I just don't know how these spirits know these things. But well, now we're in that first room there when you first get into the cave, and I seen her again. She was kind of in the back a little bit of that area, but she kind of disappeared pretty quickly. It's like she was walking into a vortex that I just didn't see, or something like that. And then Chris, the lady that one of the people that run the thing, she was telling us a little bit of the storyline of what went on and things like that. And apparently, the way that little grave looked like, it was a small young girl's kind of grave, or at least a small kid's grave, that we could guarantee it was that much. So I'm thinking, maybe this little girl was, needed me to see something, or wanted me to help her find her bones or something that had been stolen, or something like that. Which I do want to kind of go back if I get a chance to really look into that a little bit, because I don't only just help living beings. I help spirits if they need my help, because I tend to get contacted from them sometimes. But then we get a little further on back. There's a little bitty hallway, and when you go from the first one to the second one, I was almost claustrophobic going through. I'm a skinny fella, and I had to kind of go sideways through this thing. And then we get to the next little area, and this is where it kind of went crazy. We get back in there, and I start getting that, like somebody's just punched me in my stomach, and we were hearing noises. We heard this kind of like a kind of thing around the corner. And
did that
then
get
John,
recorded at all?
There's some stuff on there that's on the show. Yeah, most of the good stuff that we saw and felt and experiences on there. But there is a lot of stuff that they didn't put on there that I was really surprised about. Like where me and Chad was the other guy. That's John's buddy that went, his army buddy, and
Right.
And me and him were standing up against a wall. And me and him both got grabbed on the right shoulder at the same time, both of our right shoulder, and me and him both turned around at the same time. And they didn't show that, and that kind of blew my mind. I was like, man, that was like one of the most profound experiences I had while I was in there, and didn't even show it.
It's odd when they leave out stuff that would corroborate the fact that there's actually something going on. Kind of
That's more
strange.
for entertainment. I mean, I kind of understand that. They want to pick and choose what goes with the storyline, which I understand that. I mean, that's the way it is. But I'm just glad they didn't ask me to fake nothing, because I'd have given them the finger and walked out.
Yeah,
That was one of the main things I told them. I said, it's an honor, and I'm blessed. Thank you very much. I'd love to do something like that, but I'm going to tell you real quick before I come and before I get involved with you, is I'm not going to fake anything. I'm not going to do anything that you tell me to do that makes it look like I'm showing evidence that does not belong there, because I'm here to really show a real investigator. I want to show real evidence and things that's really went on. And that's my stipulation. So Sirens Media was the ones that put it together, and it was amazing. I had a great experience with them. They were completely open to whatever I needed to do, the way that I wanted to do the investigation, how I described a lot of the stuff. When I'm walking into areas, if I'm pulling out, say when I was pulling out the REM pod or the K2 or whatever I was pulling out, they would give me time to describe what it did, how it did it, why I was putting that out, or why I would collaborate one piece of equipment with with another, all the whole thing, they just kind of said, well, we're going to investigate, and here you go for it.
They're like, hey, Nick, we're going to attach a harness under your shirt and then have a clear wire and pull you screaming into the back of the cave. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I was like, no. Let's pass on that one and say we did.
They go full Hollywood on you.
Yeah,
so
right.
You mentioned earlier that you were an ordained minister. Now, when you go and do things like this, do you feel like that puts more of a target on your back with maybe
Absolutely.
some of the more negative spirits?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, no matter which religion you're in, or you follow a higher power, or you really do things, for your God or your deity, whoever that is, you'll tend to get the opposite of whatever you're following anyway. But me in particular, I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus Christ because He's my Lord and Savior. But I tell you, anytime that I ever speak about Him or get into an area where I'm like, well, this is the Lord's space. This is my Father Jesus' space. You're not allowed to be in here. There's always something that tends to happen if it's a negative entity. If I go in, I'll say, if you're not of the Holy Spirit, you're not allowed to be here. There'll be noises or scratches and push. I've been pushed, scratched, punched, pushed downstairs, pushed against walls, spit on, but there was nothing there. It felt like I was spit on, but there was nothing there. Breathed on, just all kinds of stuff. But it I go back to that Panther thing. I think no matter what, if it was the Lord, sending something to me, or if it was, an ancient being, or if it was my ancestor, Native American ancestor, whatever, getting me to do that, there's a path that I've been following and a path that I've taken. And it's to protect people and to help people, and it's I've actually had to deal with a lot of health things here these past couple of years and take a little bit of a break from investigating because I can probably say that it could be paranormal or whatever related. But the thing is, I can handle it, and that's the way I look at it. It's hard on me and it's difficult for me, but I would prefer to go through it than to have somebody else go through it. And if I can prevent somebody from dealing with pain or heartache or hurt, I'll do it, and I'll take it for them. That's why I feel that way.
So now, of course, you do not have to answer this, but maybe I just misheard you. But did you just say that you were dealing with some health issues that you feel were paranormal related?
I mean, a lot of people don't realize that your spiritual being or your energy, or what people call a soul, that can get really powerful to cause you to be bad health or to have things going on. And I can't say they're paranormal rated, but I mean, I have a thought that my little 12-year-old cat that died last year of breast cancer, I believe that's I'm about 65-70% that was probably coming from something that I dispelled from somewhere else.
And it came home with you.
I can't. I really think what this past couple of years, and then this will get to that. This will answer that question. Is that I started to help a few more people than usual, and I was gearing up to get ready to do more. And it seemed like as soon as that started happening, bad things started happening to me. Like my little baby got breast cancer. I contracted sciatica. Well, I've got a crooked spine, which causes a lot of problems anyway. But I've toughed it out. Even when I went in the Army, I had to get waivers to go to the Army just because they're like, "Holy cow, your back's friggin' like an S. Are you good?"
Right.
But so, and then I'm a chef as well, so I got sciatica a couple of years ago that caused me to not be able to do a lot of stuff. But that's the way that I started getting even that way, and then I got in this real bad depression mode. And I don't tell a lot of people, but I got suicidal. I was thinking of taking my own life and things like this, and it got bad. But the thing that really got me out of this was just the same thing that gets me out of any bad position is my faith in Jesus Christ. I look in the mirror and I looked at myself in the eyes, and I've always been a strong-willed individual. I mean, I used to smoke, and I quit smoking, and you talking about hard right there. That's one of the hardest things I ever did. But it took me just putting that stuff down on the table and saying, I'm going to quit that stuff. I'm not going to do it anymore. And, this time I looked at myself in the eyes and I said, I never, ever want to see or hear that come out of your mouth, out of your mind ever again in Jesus Christ's name. And it seemed like even right then when I even said that and looked at myself in the eyes, I could have had an attachment or something, because I've seen people have attachments pulled off of them, or I've been involved with exorcisms as well. And I probably, the way that it felt or the way that it was, I probably either had an attachment, or it could have been worse, even maybe even oppression, something like that. But I think I probably looked at it in the eyes. I mean, it could have been inside me, and I just probably looked at it in the eyes and said, "Back up off me." Is pretty much the way it was.
You having that conviction and actually looking at yourself in the mirror and saying that, maybe it was like, okay, guess I'm just going to go this way now.
Yeah. And after that, I mean, there's a lot of things, here and there, but it's not as bad. And then, of course, I'm doing my best to get myself back to normal and stuff. And so things are starting to work out a little bit better. And I did lose some friends and family thinking, he's not doing something, or he's not doing this, doing that, or whatever, and assuming stuff, but until you're in a position that you've got a lot of things going on, you really don't understand the situation that you're in. I mean, it's a pretty hard situation, but like I say, my faith and my little cat. It's kind of funny to say that, but my little cat. I mean, they helped me get motivation to get me back to where I'm at and get back into fighting shape and get it back out there and start helping people again.
So what about some of these exorcisms that you've been on? And I don't expect to know even what state these folks are in or any of their names. I know it can be a very private affair, and I don't blame them.
Oh, yeah.
But what are some of the things or some of the scariest things that you've seen while you were on some of these exorcism calls?
Well, they're all scary, honey. Even thinking about trying to get involved with that stuff again is a scary thought. But one thing I can remember, and it was a mix between scary and just kind of shocking kind of thing. I remember with these ladies that I used to be friends with, they used to do exorcisms and stuff like that. And I'd seen this one fella. He was just white as can be, just a country guy, or at least he had just a straight voice, no accents. He wasn't ethnic at all, is what I'm trying to say. He's not from anywhere. He's just talked normal, like, well, I've got a really country accent, but
right.
he talked
normal.
straight. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, because I got such a country accent to be such not a country person. But during this while he's out, while they put him out for a little bit, because they would hypnotize him a little, and they would go out for a little while and stuff. And while he's out, this fella starts talking in perfect Spanish. Perfect. Whatever, I don't remember. I think I looked it up after he was talking, and he said something like "not the Christ" or something like that a couple times, and some other stuff. And you talking about puckering my butthole up a little bit. I was just like, what's this dude's talking in Spanish? And the next thing you know, then when he's out of it completely and everything's kind of, back to normal, well, at least normal
close
again,
to normal,
or normal period. Yeah. He's like, I've never been to Spain. I've never been to Mexico. I don't know Spanish. I've never took. I'm like, dude, you're blowing my mind right now. I mean, that was more of a like, what in the world just happened kind of thing.
So was there another investigator there that did speak Spanish and was relaying to everybody what he was saying?
No. It was closed. It was closed. It was only the girls and then me.
Oh, okay.
Because when you're involved with stuff like that, you have to be very careful, because these, whether or not they're demonic or they're just spirits that are possessing, say you do get that entity out of that person, well, they're going to either go back to where they came from, or they're going to go into somebody else. So you have to really be really closed on that kind of stuff. That's why a lot of the Catholic churches and all that stuff, you don't really see them doing that out in public or stuff. And there's a couple of them on TV and stuff here and there, but most of the time it's a closed session, and you have to go through chains of command, which I talk in military. You have to go through the chain of command in the Catholic Church to even to get them to come and to look at you to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, there wasn't nobody else, just me and the girls. There's people out on the other side of the house and stuff, but it's just amazing being involved with that kind of stuff and seeing something like that happen.
Yeah, I call my resident demonologist John Paul Capice. He told me before that he's like, you'd never know it, but each of the states, depending on the size and the population, has between 1 and 3 or 4 exorcists ready to rock in each of the states. Yeah. And you'd never know that if you actually looked into it. You'd never think that, do we need that many? Apparently we do.
Well, it seems like these past few years that things have got worse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe we do. You know,
Yeah.
I have a great friend of mine that's in Kentucky, that Bishop James Long. I don't know, you've probably heard of him. He's been on Ghost Adventures and stuff, but he's an exorcist, and he's just right up the state above me. So if I ever have any kind of problems, we're like, hey, buddy, I got something for you, kind of stuff. But it's good to, it's good to have people like that to help you, and
Yeah.
sometimes even if it's not a full out possession, it's good to have clergy or, say shaman, things like that to really help you with that. I will not perform an exorcism on anybody because I don't want to put somebody else in danger. And I don't think that I have enough knowledge yet, even still, to do something like that. So that's why I say, well, I'll help with the cleansing or a clearing or something like that. But when it starts coming to something very dangerous, like a demonic or a real possession, I'm calling somebody and it usually I'll call, like, say if it's the Christian faith, I'll call somebody that's, a preacher or something like that that's a Christian faith. If it's Catholic, if they're Native American shamans, stuff, I try to go with, with their religion, because usually it's their deity or their God that takes care of it. But I just still think they're all the same. I still think all the religions are the same thing, but it's all good.
So when you watched a movie, have you seen the movie The Conjuring?
Oh yeah. It's that's Ed and Lorraine Warren. Yeah, it's John Zaffis's aunt and uncle.
Yeah. So when they
Yeah.
were in the basement, it's the final
Yeah.
scene, and she's in the
Yeah.
chair and speaking in
Lifting up in the
tongues.
air.
And I mean,
Yeah.
how do you feel about a scene like that, having gone through and seen exorcisms?
Oh man, I mean, that stuff happens. I mean, you can see even like old history or historic videos and stuff from the Catholic Church that you can see where they levitate, and there's a lot of people that'll tell you about the levitation, where people levitate off the beds, or like how that's happening, like the chair flying around and things like that, and the way that the entity will try to draw you out and say bad things about you to shake your faith while you're trying to get that thing to go away and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I mean, it's a scary thought, to be involved with stuff like that. But I'll tell you, if the Lord called me to do it, I would do it. It's just, it's something that needs to be done sometimes. And I hate for people that is involved with possessions or anything like that kind of or oppressions or anything like that, that it's a scary. I hate to see people in that kind of pain. It's a really difficult situation for them, and I pray for them every day.
Yeah, John Paul and I have had many a discussion on exorcisms and people that are oppressed, or
Mhm.
any of the levels that work up to a full-on possession. I was looking for the word. There it was, possession,
I got you.
where you need an exorcism. And I
Yeah.
think that it's so fascinating that I would go, well, what about these people that, they cough up or puke up nails or glass? And he goes, well, they don't.
Yeah.
It just appears in their mouth. And,
Yeah.
either way, I'm kind of going, well, that's also quite horrifying. But
Isn't it? Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Have you ever seen anything like that, where something appeared in one of these folks' mouth?
Not quite like that, no. But I mean, of course, I've heard stories, and I know a lot of
Yeah.
exorcists now that tells me some things like that. They've seen, those nails that's supposed to represent the crucifixion of Christ and
Yes.
stuff like that. And so it's always, no matter what they do, it's usually some kind of mocking of the Lord Jesus Christ or something like that. It's always some kind of mocking or something, and even to mock you yourself if you're doing the stuff, because it's trying to break you. It's you control the dead. It doesn't matter. You always control the dead, especially if you can name this thing, because once you know its name, you have control over it. That's just the way it is. So they're these things are just trying to get in your head and to shake your faith, or to shake your conviction against trying to go up against these things. And it's scary. It is. It really is a scary thought. Try to see somebody spitting out nails or spitting, anything like that. It'd be crazy to see something like that.
Yeah. So for your purposes, though, you really do feel like if you were called to do this work, you would
Yeah.
move to that next step and do exorcisms and be the exorcist.
In a heartbeat. Yeah. It's like I say, I've always felt like I should be a protector for people, or to help people, or to be that shield or that sword for people that needs it, that can't lift that sword and shield for themselves. And if the Lord calls me to do it, I'll do it. I mean, whatever He needs me to do. If it's learning how to be an exorcist, or I guess you'd have to go through a lot of chain of command through the church and things like that to be an official exorcist. But if I need to do it, if there's something that He says, hey, to me, this person needs it. This person has a, say, demonic entity. I hate saying demon because everybody says demon nowadays, but
Yeah.
so if it's got a demonic entity with this person, get help. I'll help them. I'll do what I can. If it gets to the point to where it's something that I think that I can't handle, I'll get a hold of somebody and fast. I won't leave nobody like that alone. That's just, I hate seeing people in pain or in danger, and especially from demons or malevolent entities or spirits or whatever these things there are nowadays. There's all kinds of stuff nowadays.
Demons is such the hot button word, though, isn't it? They get blamed for everything, it seems. Everybody's all demon this, demon that.
Well, it's because of the TV stuff. I mean, the whole 20-something years I've been in the field, 20% of that has been demonic. And that tells you right there, and it's rare. It's so rare. But, I mean, it does happen, yes, but people automatically go to demon. They don't look at it and really evaluate the situation and think, well, is this some type of elemental being that's causing this thing to happen? Or is it some kind of human spirit that he was just a punk in real life, or in life, so now he's a punk in death and he's trying to hurt somebody or do something like that, or any of that. But it's not. It blows my mind. Everybody always goes to demons. Quit looking for demons. they're so rare anyway.
Bad rap. I mean, they really do.
It's just crazy, man. Everybody. I don't talk bad about Zach and Aaron and the guys at Ghost Adventure stuff, but that's their thing. They're demon hunters, so they look for demons.
Right.
And then you have a bunch of other different groups, they look for that kind of stuff. Well, that's understandable. But, a lot of the new people now coming in the field, that's what they start trying to do first. And don't do that. These, like Aaron and the guy, or Zach and the guys in Ghost Adventure, all these other different places, they watch on TV or YouTube or wherever they watching their people. These people are real investigators. They've experienced this stuff. They've learned from people that know how to deal with this kind of stuff, and they've been doing it for years. Even though Zach and the guys, they get a lot of bad rap, they know what they're doing. Even if they do exaggerate a tad bit and get all excited on TV, which is fine. It's TV, making entertainment, but they know how they will know how to handle that situation. And then there's a lot of others like that does the same thing, but they know how to handle these situations. Don't automatically just think everything's a demon. I'm going to go fight it. It's not. That should not even happen, especially for new investigators. You need to have a little bit of experience. And if you think it's a demon, don't, unless you're a clergy really, or some type of shaman or some, a spiritual person that can actually fight it, be careful and just turn it over to somebody that knows it better.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Yeah. And there's plenty of paranormal things going on out there that people can search out. And I call some people, the paranormal tourists that like to go to these bigger haunted places, which is cool. I'm part paranormal tourist too. I like to go to, Penhurst Asylum or, Waverly's and all this other different kind of stuff too. But just be real careful. Just always be safe. Learn as much as you can. Don't automatically think something's a demon. Do your research on it. Do your research. Say if it's a person with a house that says, I have a lot of bad things going on. I got scratched. I got punched. Okay, well, first look at the situation. Find out what the land is about first. Go to your city clerk or whatever, the county clerk, however you say that, whatever. Go to their office. Do some research on the land and the property, the house, and the people that used to live there. Find out what was going on. Maybe there would have been a big murder there, years ago. That there was some guy that was an evil guy that was like killing everybody, and he was mean, and now he just wants to be mean to everybody and wants to possess people, or he wants to scratch people or punch people and things like that. And then even sometimes you get scratches and punches or whatever, and it could just be a spirit trying to get your attention that just needs help. See, a lot of people immediately think, oh, if you get a scratch or you get pushed or punched and all that stuff, they immediately think that, oh my God, I'm getting attacked. Well, that's not always the case. I mean, it could be a spirit or entity or whatever just saying, hey, psst, psst, you can see me. You can see me. I need your help. That kind of stuff. So that's why do your research, protect yourself. Everything's not always a demon.
Yeah. It's not always demons, baby. It's all the hashtag demons.
Oh, goodness gracious.
This is going to sound really childish, but it's how I feel because I'm in the same town as Zach and the guys, and I have no problem with them at all. In fact, I've been to Zach's museum. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah,
Honest to God.
like to check that out.
I recommend anybody to go there. Even if the price doubles, I would still go there. I would take anybody there. If you guys want to come into town, let me know you're here. I will go with you. I will go there once a week if I could. It's so cool, and I honestly do think you would have a different experience every time. And if anyone listening now didn't hear this episode with Brennan, Peggy the doll said Brennan's name, and he was such a non-believer, and he's like, screw this place, it's full of shit, blah, blah, blah. And Peggy the doll said, Brennan. And his face was amazing. Anyway, anyhow, that wasn't the point. The point was, here's the childish part of me. So I'm in Vegas, and I've been doing the show for, few years now, and everybody knows, like, I would love to go out to locations here in Vegas, a home or a business or maybe a piece of land where some weird stuff's going on. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
But I really do feel like I'm being big time cock-blocked by Zach and the crew. And it's not a surprise. Right. They're on Travel Channel, #1 show. It's Ghost Adventures, for God's sakes, and they're local. So I'm pretty sure that any emails that I might get, Zach and the boys are getting. But that's okay. Maybe someday because you mentioned Waverly Hills and all these other places, but you like to go to the out of the way places, and that's what I would love to do. I'm like, I've got a case full of goodies. Like, I would love to go and do some recordings and get the REM pod out, or even just sit there with my own senses. But the old CB's being pulled on Shannon by the Ghost Adventures, but that's okay. Well, it's all right.
I can almost guarantee though where you're at. I mean, there's like, are you right near the desert and all that kind of stuff as well? Where you're at there in Las Vegas?
Oh, especially me personally. I live on the edge of town, on one of the edges. I won't be too specific, but I'm right near the.
You could probably go out towards the desert area and take your EMF meter and like pick up stuff and find locations out through there, because there've been. There's so many Native American things that's went on across the whole United States that in your area that, there's actually a lot of stuff that went on there, and especially the desert area and outskirts there of Las Vegas and stuff, get on past out, out away from the main stuff. Yeah, you could probably take your EMF meter, and you could probably follow, like, just find you a good open area out there somewhere where there's not a whole lot of people, or say it's a good, where I say country, because I'm out in the country-ish kind of stuff, more the deserty out and where you're at. Just go out there and pull your EMF meter out, start following your milligauss a little, and use it like a dowsing rod. And you could probably find a location that's going to give you up. As soon as you start getting that high EMF, there you go. Just pull you out a few pieces of equipment, sit down, throw your recorder out, and start asking questions.
That is a good point. That is a good point. But you know me, I'm a people person. I like to talk to people and get the, them
hotels. Have you went to any of the hotels?
How it affected them. No, I need to go to Bally's. Bally's, which is of course the old site of the MGM fire, where 80-something people, I always forget the exact number, 86, 89, 80-something people died in 1980. So, no, I haven't, but...
Yeah, you can do it in any of them hotels, I bet.
I would love to get called out to a house, where there's just some really weird shit going on, and be able to not only maybe get some evidence, but get the human side of it, how it affected the people there, and that is equally as interesting to me as the actual whatever they're going through, whatever events might be going on there. So I keep throwing this number out there, and I hate to pound it into everyone's head, but it is going to be the permanent number for everybody to call. So if you want to give me a call anytime, you can just say hello, or you suck, or come out to my house, or leave your story. 877-317-9111 is the hotline. So anyhow, okay. So yes, demons we were talking about. It's not all demons. And even like you said, and I like that you said this, people go, well, even on TV you see it. Well, they were scratched, or it was mocking the Trinity, or it was, it's always something super negative. But you're like, no, sometimes they just want to get your attention, because let's face it, we're all busy. We're looking at our phones or whatever we're doing. They just want you to know they're there.
Yeah, I mean, say you're standing there with a group of people, like live, you're real people here live, whatever, and you're looking and you're trying to get involved with another conversation. What are you going to do? You're going to be like, hey, or psst, or tap somebody on the shoulder or something, that's how they're doing. If you're especially if you're an investigator, they're like, oh my goodness, there's somebody right there. They're here wanting to talk to me. Well, I'm going to do something to them so they know I'm here. I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's like, hey, I'm here. Talk to me, kind of stuff sometimes. And excuse me. And sometimes they'll just run, which I understand. That'll scare the shit out of somebody. You're in the dark and something touches you and you go run it. But just collect. This is the way I do. I don't get frightened at all anymore. I mean, I've been face to face with some pretty mean and pretty evil stuff. But I still get startled, of course. If I'm in a dark, especially lately, for some reason, I tend to be doing a lot of stuff out in different forests and stuff, because there's a lot of areas out here it's haunted. I may do some more YouTube videos on that, but anyway, like I'll get in areas and I'll get startled. I'll be like, oh, and I may try to run into an opening and be like, I won't run, but I'll try to get out of that area, and I'll collect myself. I'll
it's
breathe,
okay if
take
you
a breath.
ran. You don't have to play like you didn't.
oh no, you won't catch me running too bad. If something starts really getting on me, I might though. But yeah, I'll get out of that situation, and I'll collect myself and breathe, and I'll go back, because that's especially if you're there to investigate the paranormal or whatever you're investigating, no matter what field of study you're in. If you're there to investigate that, and you get startled. I'm gonna say startled instead of scared. If you get startled, don't worry about it. Just collect yourself and go back and get right back in there, because that's what you're there for. And that's the same way with me. I'll get startled. I've been in houses before and in a dark area and something like that, and something startled me to death. I mean, it'll startle me so bad I'll have all my hairs on my neck and everything else sticking up, and I'll go outside. I'll shut the door, go outside. I'll breathe. I may even walk off the property for a minute, get off the property and breathe and collect myself, because a lot of these spirits anyway, they like to drain your energy. They tend to drain mine a lot for some reason, but they'll drain your energy too. If you feel like you're running out of energy, if you're starting to get heavy in breath and you're lightheaded, get out of there for a minute. Don't worry about it. You can come back. But there's always something they're going to do to you, especially if you're there to investigate, and they've say you're in a house that nobody's ever investigated, or a property or wherever you're at, nobody's ever been there before. You're the first investigator of this location. Now these people are like, or the spirits or whatever is like, oh my goodness, finally somebody, and they're going to do everything they can to either drain your energy because maybe they're a malevolent or bad entity and they want to drain that and get back to it, or it could be a spirit or something, whatever, saying, hey, I can't believe somebody's here to talk to me. Here I am, kind of stuff. So, you'll get startled. People always get startled. Even, I get a kick out of some of these people on TV nowadays. They get, some of them, not like the actual real investigators, but some of them, it's coming out nowadays. It's like, they'll get scared and they'll run away, and then they'll run away. They'll never go back. Even as one of the things I do, at least give Zach and the guys props for, at least they go back. And a lot of these nowadays they won't. But if you're there to investigate, don't run away from it. And that's what investigating is all about. It's going to be dangerous. It's going to be scary. You're hunting ghosts. There's going to be some scary stuff.
I think they lose sight of the fact that that's why they're there.
Yeah, they get excited. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I'm quote unquote." I call myself more of a paranormal investigator, because that's and you have your quote unquote ghost hunters that kind of just get out and just kind of I want to hunt ghosts, but you don't realize that. Listen to that word you're saying, ghost hunter. You're hunting ghosts. These most of the time are disembodied beings that are there. They're going to scare the shit out of you if you're in a pitch black area and you get touched or you get scratched or punched or something says something to you in your ear. Clear as day, and there's nobody else there in that whole house but you. Everybody else is outside. It's going to get you. You're going to get scared. It's going to happen, or startled. It's going to startle you. But just breathe, take a breath, get out of that situation, and get right back to it. Go right back at it.
They're like, yeah, I've turned in my badge forever.
Yeah, I've seen something to that.
Yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I ain't doing that no more. No way, man. I can't handle it. You go back. You do that. All right, I got it. Don't worry.
They're like, I'm now a professional quilter. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly. Yeah. I like to fix clocks on the afternoon.
Yeah. I do some paper mache. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit, because I know that you also look into UFOs. So a couple questions, of course, is maybe some of the more poignant cases that you've been on, and of course, have you seen something that was unidentified in the sky?
Well, I haven't technically taken any cases for ufology just quite yet because this is one of the main things I say about paranormal stuff is you want to learn everything that you can, and to me I really wouldn't have enough knowledge to be a full out ufologist or full out investigator. I have learned a lot. I will say that. But when you go in to investigate something, you need to have muscle memory. Is kind of what I want to say. Like you need to have a reaction. You can't be thinking about it. And I believe that if I get into a situation that I wouldn't completely know which way to go yet. But a lot of the stuff now I have been involved with not technically a case, but been involved with looking for UFOs and stuff like that. A few of them actually, but not really cases. One of the things I actually got to see was even in Florida. I lived in Florida for a little bit, and me and a friend of mine was out on one of the piers, and we see this orange light just flying around in the air, just like it was just free, just flying all over the place. Next thing we know, we just flew up in the sky. And then I even had a buddy of mine tell me that was down there said that they've seen things come out of the ocean down there, fly up into the sky, stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff like that.
I love the underwater bases idea. I
think that's one of the many theories out there about stuff that I believe that's going to be true somehow when they figure it out one day. I know they've got a lot of now you can satellite image the whole of Earth now. But, in some areas, you don't know if that's just some kind of holographic thing that they're projecting towards the satellite or something like that that's causing it to see something different or not to see something, especially Antarctica and stuff like that. They've found so many different stuff up there that just is completely out of the ordinary, and especially since none of the countries are even allowed to take a hold of that land. I don't know if you knew that, but that's why Antarctica is just Antarctica, is because U.S. Nobody is allowed to actually stake claim on that. That's part of like one of the old treaties or something that everybody's had. But see, and I think when we get the chance to go to Antarctica itself and like in the Alaska area, on up in that area up there, I think that we're going to find some stuff, because there was even, I think, was it last year? I believe last year, there was a 300-mile wide circle that appeared in the middle of Antarctica or up in Antarctica.
That's
they're just
right.
out of nowhere.
Anybody seen the movie The Thing? I mean, come on. That's exactly what it was. The spaceship, right?
See, and then there's no telling. I mean, they've seen, and especially here recently, that's happened, this past couple years. See, that's crazy that the paranormal has kicked up, because I always say that all this stuff is related, whether you're cryptid or paranormal or ufologist, whatever. To me, it's all related somehow. I mean, especially nowadays with so many different things going on in all the fields, that it's just unbelievable how many things happen all the time. But there's so many sightings now of all kinds of different stuff. There's people, the archaeologist stuff of the world, and that's finding out, all these different places are related, like I was mentioned earlier, like the Aztec and Mayan and the Sumerians and things like that. They're all related somehow, and they all connect somehow, and even some of the stuff really blows your mind, which is I believe in the multiverse. I think that we're in the middle of a different universe, that there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of them. I believe in that. The string theory that Michio Kaku says, he's an astrophysicist or a quantum physicist or whatever, some kind of physicist.
Oh, sure. Just jump on his bandwagon. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I'm on it, honey. I'm on it because I believe that and that's it's hard to not believe in that kind of stuff, because see that gets to the the Bigfoot thing, where people think one of the theories is he's an interdimensional being. So that's probably why that he's not been photographed. I mean, if he don't want to get photographed, how do you know he ain't just slipped right through that dimensional hole or wormhole or whatever, that the Einstein-Rosen bridge theory of the wormholes? Maybe he just slipped into that little wormhole and took off. They don't want you to see them, because they're in a completely separate dimension than we are. And then you have all these UFOs and sightings and abductions and all this. They always end up having some type of gamma radiation. It tends to be gamma radiation, which is kind of weird. And if people follow like the wormhole theories, wormholes tend to give off gamma radiation or vortex. Some people call them vortexes, but they're wormholes because it's the Einstein-Rosen bridge theory. And see, that's another theory. See, nobody can definitively say that all this stuff's true yet. But that's one of the things. So if it's gamma radiation, saying coming from the UFOs or whatever, and now you've got, maybe Bigfoot was coming through his his little doorway or something, his wormhole area, and then as well, that's where a lot of the paranormal comes from too, is where these wormholes are really indicative in these areas and stuff. So it seems like they're all related, and then that's why nowadays I got more into like quantum physics and even engineering and learning about cosmology, astrology, and stuff like that, because I think that the paranormal itself is related to the energy in the world and energy in our galaxy, because who knows, it could even be people from the future coming back, like in a rotation, because everything happens in a circle. Whatever happens now is going to happen again, and things that's happened now has already happened. Like, you go over these Sumerian areas, like where these big buildings are, Egypt and stuff like that. They've actually got these, these astronauts in stone carved out in these old buildings like that. The Mayan buildings or the Egyptians and all. They look like astronauts, and they're in these ships that looks like rockets, like nowadays rockets and stuff like that. And it just, sometimes I think that some of these beings, or these what we think's ghosts, could just be interdimensional beings that's trying to talk to us from a separate dimension that we're involved, right beside of or something, trying to say hi to. Who knows? And it's just amazing how you can really learn more about the paranormal when you open yourself up to learn about all these other things, especially when it comes to like the physics of the world and psychology, learning about the mind and how powerful the mind really is and stuff like that.
Okay,
it's it's pretty cool.
So speaking of other things, how about David Paulides and the missing 411? Are you slightly familiar with that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. What is that about?
Oh, I would love to hear your theory on that if you actually got the chance to read it. But it is
I will then. I'll look at what is it? Write it down right now. What is it again?
So it's David Paulides. That's Paulides. And his book series is The Missing 411, and it is based upon people going missing in mostly our nation's national parks under mysterious circumstances. And I mean, the question that I had for you was, do you think that, these dimensions and the portals and the things that you were talking about would tie into some of these disappearances? So maybe that will whet your appetite into maybe looking into his books. I won't go into a long diatribe on that. Anyhow, I will ask you at a later date about that. So,
I'll look into it,
So you mentioned Bigfoot.
Yep.
So what do you think about Bigfoot? What do you think he is? Do you think we'll ever solve that?
Well, I'll tell you what, in the beginning, when I first started hearing about Bigfoot stuff, I was kind of on the fence with it. But as a paranormal investigator, of course, now I call myself an uncaged investigator, because I use cage everywhere, Cage of Darkness, Nick Cage, I always use the cage thing. But, being an uncaged investigator now, where I want to learn about all kinds of different things, I have more of an open mind, and I couldn't say no, because I didn't really find any kind of evidence. Well, now I have. I've got a real good friend of mine. His name is Eric Altman. I don't know if you've heard of him, but this fella, he's also he's a cryptozoologist, Bigfoot hunter, and I got to be a guest at an event with him where I was running kind of ghosty stuff, and he was doing the Bigfoot stuff. And well, during the daytime, this was in Pennsylvania. In the daytime, me and him, went back towards the forest area. Okay, first, let me say this. The whole camp area where we were staying, everybody was staying there for the weekend. Mm-hmm. Everybody was accounted for. There was guards. I mean, everybody knew where everybody was at all times. All right. So me and him starts going during the daytime, walking the trails, checking things out, making sure it's safe for the people. We just want to make sure we know the area, so that way when we take people back there, they don't get hurt and stuff like that. Well, we walked the whole trail, looked around, everything looks good, everything's safe, nothing really going on. So we come back and we get ready to go towards at nighttime. And it's probably a few hours later, after it started getting a little dark, we get ready to get everybody together. Then we start going back towards on that trail. Well, about quarter way through that trail, I look over to the right, and there is this enormous X the tree X. I'm sure if you looked into Bigfoot, you know what that is now.
Mm-hmm.
That this X was where one of the trees had been twisted and pulled off the bottom of the tree, or the bottom of the base of the tree itself, and hung up kind of into this big X. Now we looked around and found out where that was twisted and stuff, and it was a ways away. I mean, it was easily 30 or 40 or so yards away from where that X was. You know, we went in investigative mode because, you know, me and him were very dedicated. We're real, you know, like I say, we're real investigators. So the first thing we're saying is, oh, we got to figure this out right now. We can't keep going. So we start looking all around the ground, trying to see if there's any tracks, trying to see if maybe somebody had put like a pulley or something in a tree to lift stuff up and all this other stuff. Nothing, nowhere at all. So that blew our mind. I've got photos of it. I'll try to look them up, and maybe I'll put them on my Twitter or Facebook or something for everybody to check it out. But we took some photos, of course, checked it out, and it was like, all right, well, we'll keep going. So here we go a little further, and we got about a little more than halfway, and there's this little creek that runs in that area, and this area is a huge place. It's got all kinds of quartz stones, and there's just a lot of energy there. Like even they have like these fairy people that apparently has been seen there, and they have like groups that fairy hunters or whatever, you know, the fairy folk hunters is, you know, they've got people that look for them too.
Right.
So that they have big conventions there and things like that. And we saw fairy rings, and there's a lot of stories of that. But so we get to this creek area, and we look down, and about 1.5 inches inside from the edge, there is a stack of quartz rocks, pure quartz rocks, and it goes from big stone to little stone, and it looked like a marker or something like that. So me and Eric, we you know, it's blowing our mind. We're seeing stuff like this now because we know for a fact that nobody had been back there.
No, wait,
you know,
sorry to interrupt you. It was stacked.
Oh, you're good.
Big to little.
Big to yeah, it was a big one on the base,
wow.
And it was a smaller, and then, you know, the itty bitty one on the
and
very
it was all
top
quartz.
of it. So it's like every bit of pure quartz, all of it. Okay. And it was right on and it was about 1.5 inches from the edge on the in the creek itself. So if you know, especially since you're paranormal, you know that running water tends to generate energy.
Yeah.
And quartz itself, you know, collects energy and generates energy too. So, you know, we start going into investigative mode again. So we're trying to figure out, you know, what in the world's going on here? You know, we just walked past this huge X that we know for a fact that we looked around, because we was looking around to make sure people were going to be safe. So we were looking everywhere. There's no way we would have missed this, especially during the daytime. You know, and we get to this creek area, and this thing's just standing right there in the creek, and we start thinking, well, you know, maybe this marker is like this is where I think he's probably interdimensional, because the way that this marker was made, it seemed like it was there for energy. It was either for them to help to create this wormhole, for them to get the doorway to go back and forth, or maybe they needed energy themselves, or it was there, you know, to generate energy to say, you don't need to go to this area because there's people over here now, or something like that, you know, because there's, you know, that whole camp was full of people. So maybe it was something like that to generate this, like a beacon to keep people away and stuff like that. So we saw, that's a couple of the things that we saw while we were there. And after I saw that, you know, and the reason we even did while he did the Bigfoot hunt there was because that there had been a lot of sightings in that area. So, you know, of course we're wanting to do a Bigfoot hunt if there's been sightings. So, you know, that to me was enough for me to say, okay, well, there has to be something going on. You know, even if it's not like this, you know, your quote unquote Sasquatch or Bigfoot, there has to be some kind of being doing that or something. I mean, there was no way that people could get in and out of that place because it was fenced in. Everybody was accounted for, and everybody knew where everybody was at all times. You know, there was a lot of paranormal stuff there too. There was a lot of Native American stuff. So I don't know. But then when we saw that X was enough for the Bigfoot, you know, because you see that X everywhere. Anytime that people go to these Bigfoot areas, you know, to look for Bigfoot, there's always that X. And he, you know, Eric even has different theories on that, you know, that says, hey, maybe this is my spot, or this is where humans were, or maybe this is where food is, or this is where you can come pick up your energy, or something, you know. there's so many different things. But to me, to answer your question, do I believe that it's out there? If that we'll find it, I believe it's out there. I'm not sure if we'll find it. We may or may not find it because, like I say, it could be interdimensional. And if they don't want to be found, they're just going to slip right through that little hole of that little wormhole or whatever they're creating with their energy and getting away. And so there's a yes or no with that, with if we'll find it. But yeah, I do believe that it's real. I mean, it's hard not to believe that something like that would be real after so much different kind of things coming around here and there. But I don't know, man. That'd be cool. I'd like to go back and do it again.
And that was in Pennsylvania.
It's in Pennsylvania. Yeah. It's a big wooded area in Pennsylvania.
A lot of cool stuff goes on in Pennsylvania.
And see, that's even part of the Appalachia. You go right up. You see, that's part of that, more of that stuff. So it's, who knows? That thing could come on down here. I'll be like, what's up, man?
Well,
I don't know what I'd say.
I certainly hope they aren't interdimensional, of course, and people know that I feel that way. I'm not laughing at anyone that thinks that. It's what they believe. I just, gosh darn it, if they are, then we'll never figure it out.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some think that it's a Native American thing as well. They it's a lore in Native American for Native Americans that he was a protective being, that actually was there to protect people, to help people, and to do stuff. But I don't know.
Or fallen angels, right?
Could be Nephilim. Yeah, it could be Nephilim. Who knows?
A lot of people think that too.
There's no telling. There really ain't, until somebody can really just the same differences into the paranormal stuff, until somebody brings a subject into a controlled area and actually does, we're never going to find out until that happens.
Yeah. Until then, it's still fun to look into it, though.
Absolutely, every bit. I get excited. I told Eric, I was like, buddy, you want me to come with you? I'll be right up there anytime you want to do it. Let's do it. I don't care where it's at. Let's get to it. I'm ready.
I've never met Eric. I've always wanted to. So.
Oh, you talking about and they're putting together. They're putting together a Bigfoot adventure, like a Pennsylvania Bigfoot adventures camp thing it's coming around this year, I believe. So if you guys if you're in the Pennsylvania area or that area, look that up, because he's got a lot of people going that's involved with the Bigfoot people. I think even the mountain monster guys and all kinds of other stuff is going too. So it's an experience, man. It's being a paranormal investigator, it's fun to really get into a different investigative, and start learning things, especially like Bigfoot. I mean, it'd be really cool to see something like that. I don't know how I would react to a big monster thing. I've been face to face with some pretty evil stuff that I can't see, but if I see this thing, and it's like 7-8 foot tall, and it's like right in front of me, and it's like this huge, hairy, friggin' muscle bound monster beast, I have no idea how I would react. No clue.
The reality of actually, like you said, being face to face, if you will, or in proximity, and you're able to confirm, and there is no doubt, yes, that is a Sasquatch. How are you really going to feel about that? How are you really going to react to that? Something that's 800 pounds, 10 feet tall, whatever it is. We read about it. I talk to people all the time. But sitting here in Las Vegas in my office talking to you, or even when I was out in the woods, it always seemed so far away, because it is the needle in the haystack. It is winning the lottery. It is. And I definitely still feel that way. I feel like
absolutely.
If you see one, well, it's because they let you. They're just too good. They're too good. Whether they're what you think, they're dimensional, or they are flesh and blood. They let you see them. They're way too good at what they do. I just don't think that we can comprehend what actually seeing one would be like until it happened. So
no clue. I have no idea how I'd react to that.
I talk about it. I talk about Bigfoot probably 2, 3, 4 times a week with various people, whether it's for the show or we're just talking. But I think until it happens, you just don't know how you're going to process that. Much like, experiences that you've had with being with these exorcisms, and like you said, you were, thrown downstairs. You have had all these things go on with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and see, that's one of the main reasons I say about the ufology. Like I don't want to take cases, is because you need to have a reaction, a muscle reaction, quote unquote muscle reaction to this. So if you get in these situations, you want to, like, say if I did go up towards a Bigfoot, and I'm not a Bigfoot hunter or cryptozoologist. I mean, I've learned a lot about cryptids and stuff, but I don't know how I would react to that, or even my muscle memory wouldn't tell me how to react to that. So it's all about learning about your subject, no matter what field you're in or what you're studying. Learn a lot about your subject, get your muscle memory together, get your reaction together. Not so that way you don't, just like I'm a martial artist as well, and like Bruce Lee, he says react. That's what you want to do. You want to react. You don't want to think. You want to react. And and when you're in an investigation, that's the way you want to be. You want to react. You don't want to think about it.
Honestly, I think that if you were, so say you're on a hike by yourself, you're like, pick anywhere. And in Pennsylvania or Ohio, you're at Salt Fork State Park, you're hiking by yourself. Yeah. And I think, if you're prepared to react, and if you're out there for Bigfoot or not, I think the best thing you can do is just have a diaper on, just in case.
That's it.
So
the
if
most
you
thickest
see that,
one you could find.
If you see that Bigfoot, by God, you don't know what you're going to do. You might shit your pants.
Yeah, I think I probably would.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I've said it before.
I mean, seriously.
Not afraid to say it. I have no clue what I do. You might cry.
Yeah.
You might piss
Who
yourself.
knows?
You may run. Probably don't run because you don't know.
No.
They might
I wouldn't. I don't.
meat.
Yeah,
They're probably omnivores.
Right.
Be safe.
Could be like, oh, you're running, I'm gonna come after you now, or something like that. They have to go
that
face to face with it.
predatory nature. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, let everybody know again your YouTube channel. Please, everybody, go like, subscribe, and share it.
Absolutely. It's you can look me up as Nick T. White on YouTube, or luckily I'm the only Nick T. White on there, and so you can go to youtube.com/C as in channel /Nick T. White. You can look me up that way. And I also have links to it from my Facebook and my Twitters and all that stuff. I always, share things, a lot of these different videos and stuff that I do. I just shared on my Twitter, I did I edited together a face-to-face interview with me where I'm interviewing myself on camera, which people really got a kick out of. So if you hadn't got to check that out, definitely check it out. But I have my Twitter, which is @CageTheDarkness. I do stay on Twitter a whole lot, so please hop over, follow me, and I do follow back. I like to talk to people. So like I say, even if the Lord blesses me to be a big name anywhere, I'll always be this same person that'll talk to you just like I've known you forever. I've got my Instagram, which is Nick T. White Photo. I've got Snapchat, NickCage03. I'll be doing a lot of stories and stuff. Let's just, saying hi to you guys, telling you little kind of, I guess you can call it a behind the scenes of what I do and things that's going on with me and my life and stuff, if you're actually interested in any of that. But I've got then my two websites, which is cagethedarkness.com, which is my paranormal stuff, my website and things. And then I have my photography website, which is ntwphotography.com. And Facebook, you just look me up on Facebook, facebook.com/NickWhite03, or Nick White CTD, Charlie Tango Delta. That says Cage the Darkness. And then I have my Cage the Darkness Facebook page as well. You can just put in Cage the Darkness Paranormal Investigations. You actually,
Charlie
the easiest
Tango
way
Delta. I love that. There's the Army coming out again. I love it.
Oh yeah. You can actually, which is really cool, and I feel really humbled by this. You can actually go to Google and put in Nick White Paranormal, and just stuff starts unloading. So really, that would probably be the easiest way to find all this stuff is just go to Google, put in Nick White Paranormal, and it'll unload on you.
You know what's funny is that I've been made fun of for this, but I hear it when you say it. I say white, and I try to say white because people are like, it's not white, it's white. Yeah. And I'm like, I try to pronounce it just like I can't say wolf. And I'm like, get over it. I'm not going to say wolf right. Like,
I say that the same way. That's so funny. Yeah, it don't matter. As long as you understand what they're saying, who cares?
White, wolf, get over it.
I mean, I'm country at heart anyway, so that's why all this countryness comes out. So I say all kinds of stuff.
Well, I guess I'm desert country because I say the same thing.
There you go, honey. Say it proud, baby. Say it proud.
That's right. Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you asking me, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Hi, Shannon. My name's Darren. I live in Canada. I have a story from traveling around the world, traveling around Alberta, and it involves me and my wife going to a hotel with our young son. And our young son was about 2.5 or 3. This takes place back in 2007 or so. And so we got to a hotel. We were given a room. The hotel was already quite booked, so we didn't have much choice in our room. We ended up getting a room on a third floor of this hotel. And when we got into the room, everything seemed to be fine. Put our suitcases on the floor. We then dispersed around the room. I went to the window to open up the window and turn on the air conditioner. And I found out the floor was soaking wet. So we called down to the front lobby to get maybe someone else to come and help us clean up this mess. I think the air conditioner had probably malfunctioned or something like that. So we had a knock on the door a few minutes later, and someone was there with a stack of towels. They gave my wife the stack of towels, and they would not enter the room. They said, well, here you go. This is what you need to clean up the room with. Now, being a hotel, we thought that, maybe they would come in and clean it up for us, but that didn't really happen. So we thought, okay, fine, they'll probably be busy. We took the towels, sopped up the mess, closed what I thought was a closed window on the hotel wall above the air conditioner, but it actually seemed to be open. And then after mopping up the kind of water on the floor, we took all the towels, put them back out in the hallway, and just kind of thought, well, it's whatever. We'll settle down for the night. And being that it was very hot outside, we thought we'd turn the air conditioner back on again. Well, the air conditioner didn't seem to want to work, so that's fine. We ended up opening up the window to the outside, which was just as hot as inside, so that didn't really give us much comfort. But we thought, okay, we're going to make the best of it. I thought, well, we're just going to lay down and watch TV. So when we got into our show, the phone rang in the hotel room. So I walked up and I grabbed the phone and picked it up to my ear, and there was nothing but static. I thought, oh, well, okay, whatever. There's some kind of wrong number, whatever. Put the phone back down. I went back and laid down. The phone rang again. So I picked up the phone, and it was still a bunch of static. I thought, okay, fine. I'm just going to leave the phone off the hook. Went back down and laid down. Well, usually when you leave a phone off the hook, it can't ring, but the phone rang again. I thought, okay, well, that's getting kind of weird now. Went and picked up the receiver and listened to it, and it was just static. So I put the phone back down, and I unplugged the phone from the wall. Thankfully, in the next while, there was no other call on that phone. So we decided that, well, it's getting kind of late now. We've watched our show on TV. We're going to go to bed. Me and my wife in one bed, and my 3-year-old son in the bed beside us. My wife, however, kept looking at me and kind of surprised and waking up a little bit sometimes and thinking that there was someone saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, mommy." And she looked at me and she said, "Are you saying mommy?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And we look at our son. He's sound asleep, so it can't be him. So we slept a little longer, and then we heard again, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, mommy." And so she gets up and she looks at her son, who's sound asleep, and she comes over to me. Still, I didn't say anything. So we slept for a little bit. And then in the middle of the night, I got up and I looked at the smoke alarm, which is in the middle of all the rooms in hotels, and it has a green light on it. However, the green light in this particular case was just illuminating the room like you wouldn't believe. And I couldn't figure out why the smoke alarm was so bright. So my wife was still asleep. I decided that I'm going to get up and go to the bathroom. And I'm sitting in the bathroom. The lights are all off. And in a hotel room, you usually have a sink aligned with the toilet, all kind of on one wall. And then on the wall across, from where the door is, there's going to be a plug-in for your hair dryer or your razor or whatever. So I'm sitting there just hanging out, and I look over at that little plug-in for some reason, and sparks start coming out of it. And they just kind of keep coming, and I'm like, I don't understand this at all. They're not sparks that are snapping, they're silent, but there are sparks coming out of it. And I can't figure out what's going on. So the sparks stop, and I decide, well, okay, I'm just going to go back to bed now and get back in bed. My wife and I happened to be a little romantic that night, and my son was sound asleep, and everything seemed fine. And we had some fun, but the whole time we were doing that, the green light on the smoke alarm was still bright as day, and we couldn't really quite get over that. At this point, we were still kind of newlyweds, only being married for 2.5 years or 3 years, from when my son was born. So, okay, that's fine. So it seemed uncomfortable, but, we didn't think anything much of it even still. Although I did think the sparks coming out of the wall were strange, and we both thought that the phone call that came from nowhere was also strange. So we had a good rest of the night, other than my wife waking up a few more times to the sound of "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy," and not waking me up, but going over to check on our son. Still nothing. He was sound asleep. So in the morning, we all got up. My son was gleefully playing on the bed, hanging out. We packed up, we're getting ready to go, and I took my son up off the bed, and I put him on the floor, and he started screaming. And I thought, why? What's wrong, buddy? There's nothing on his feet. He seemed to be okay. So I picked him up, and he stopped. And he just kept looking at the floor and kind of pointing. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So I put him back down, thinking that that's what he wanted to, because he was pointing at it. So I put him back down on the floor. Nope, started screaming again, picked him back up, put him on the bed. And I said, well, maybe there's something, there's a pin or something like that on the floor. Looked around, couldn't find anything. Took my son off the bed again, put him down on the floor, and started screaming again. So I obviously picked him right back up again. Walked around the room, decided to put him down in a different spot, just in case there was something bad, some kind of, pin or whatever on that spot on the floor. Put him down in an opposite corner of the room, and he started screaming again and crying, which, by the way, he never does. He likes to be independent, and he loves to run around wherever he is. This is back in 2007, so he loves to run around wherever he is, and couldn't figure that out. So we picked him back up, packed everything up, got out in the hallway. I put him down in the hallway, and he started running around and laughing and having a good time. Couldn't understand that. So we get down to the hotel lobby to check out, and I asked them, I said, is there any kind of strange things that happen on this particular floor? And the girl behind the desk turns like just pure white, and she goes, oh, no. And I said, what? She goes, oh, well, there might have been some things that have happened on that floor. And I said, okay, well, you have to tell me about these. She proceeded to tell me that when the hotel was being built, there was an electrician that was electrocuted in the space kind of beside my room. She then told me that they can't keep the windows closed in the block of rooms on that floor, which means that during the summertime, all those rooms are flooded because the air conditioner works overtime. They weren't sure. They would send someone up, close all the windows. An hour later, all the windows would be open, and they would repeat and repeat and repeat. And the same thing would happen. I also found out that the fire department continually gets called on 911 from a room, which is a service room next to where our hotel room was, where there is no phone access. However, somehow there's a register of a fire alarm in this room, which I think is where this man died. He, I guess, seems to want to draw attention to himself and continue on to, I guess, do electrical work, because that seems to be what he's doing. And the fire department continually shows up, and they understand now that this call is not real, coming from this room. One more thing to note is that all calls for 911 get rerouted through the main switchboard, so that the main desk, the desk downstairs, can find out that if and where there is an emergency. However, these calls seem to circumvent all of that, which is not possible based on the wiring, and the fire department shows up anyway. So that kind of explained a lot to us. Very strange. And then after this, we continued our travels, went to another hotel a few hundred miles away after a day of traveling and sightseeing. I went to the front desk jokingly asking, well, I would like a hotel that isn't haunted. I would like a hotel room that isn't haunted. And they said, oh, well, okay, then we're not going to put you on the 4th floor where there seems to be an entity that is cloaked in black and scares people off. And I thought, you know what? I'm only joking. They weren't. So it appears that there are many hotels that are haunted. By the way, both of these hotels were built within the last 5 to 8 years. They aren't old. They're not decrepit. They are new hotels, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of other people have had experiences in new hotels that they would wish to share as well. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, Shannon. This is Rob Veach from V Paranormal. How you doing? I saw the email just got, and I wanted to just leave a quick encounter. About 5 years ago, I did an investigation at a senior services place locally in town where I live in Yorkville, Illinois, and we had all kinds of crazy evidence, and there was a couple of unusual spirits there that we captured, voices and growls, things like that. About a week after the investigation, brought everything home, and I started seeing something I never saw before in my entire life, which was a really dark, stationary, then quickly moving shadow. And at first I thought it was my eyes, but then I saw it right in front of me over my television, and I saw it in my kitchen, and I saw it in my bedroom, and it was really unusual. I've never seen it before. And I didn't say anything to my wife, of course, because she would just kick my butt. She doesn't believe in most of this, and I didn't for many years till I started getting evidence from my team. But about 2 days after that, she asked me if I'd seen anything. I said, why? And she said she saw 2 black moving objects hover over her and move very quickly. And she thought I was doing a prank on her. So I had to fess up at that point. So I brought out all my equipment and investigated my house and didn't capture anything. But I'll never forget that encounter of that. And I haven't seen that. It was the first time I saw it in my entire life, and I only saw it one other time on the set of Ghost Asylum in the Bisman building. There was some shadow movements there. But it's really impressive when you see it, and you know you've never seen anything like that before. So I just wanted to give you that little encounter, and have a nice evening, everybody. Good night now.
Well, I'm so-and-so. I was given this name by my parents. I've been to such and such a college. I've done these things in my profession. And I produce a little biography. The Buddhist says, forget it. That's not true. That's some story. That's all gone. That's all past. I want to see the real you are now. Well, nobody knows who that is. Because we don't know ourselves except through listening to our echoes and consulting our memories. But then there's a real you, and that again leads us back to this question. Who are you? That is the real you. We shall see how they play with this exam by the koans to get you to come out of your shell and find out who you really are. where he says, when you settle down in the train to read your newspaper and so on, you are not the same person who a little while ago left the platform. If you think you are linking your moments up in a chain. And this is what binds you to the wheel of birth and death. But when you know that every moment in which you are is the only moment, this comes into Zen. A master will say to somebody, get up and walk across the room. And he comes back and he says, where are your footprints? They've gone. So where are you? Who are you? When we are asked who we are, we usually give a kind of recitation of a history.